a pagan activity or talking to the dead. Wherever those girls went, they brought something back with them.
You're listening to the Fun with Horror podcast with your hosts, Scotty and Andrew.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Scotty.
And welcome to episode 114 of Fun with Horror, the movie review podcast in which two long-distance best friends stay in touch by taking turns giving each other horror movies to watch, and then we get to discuss them.
And guess what? Last episode, I got to pick the movie at the very end of the episode, and I chose the widely acclaimed, critics loved it, nominated for 10 Academy Awards, The Exorcist Believer.
It's actually 12 awards. 12.
12? It was 12? Oh,
it was 12.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I forgot Best International. Yes,
yep,
you're right.
That's
Of course, stay tuned to the end of this episode when we get to hear Andrew pick our next movie.
Ooh.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, buddy. Dude, I have to tell you, just a second ago, I think it's because I usually don't wear glasses when we do this, but I'm wearing my glasses and they're all, I don't know, dirty. But it looked for a second like that Chucky doll behind you moved. I kid you not. And I'm assuming it's the glasses, but I swear it looked like just a little movement.
Maybe it's Pazuzu.
Ooh!
They should do that in Chucky. Like, you know, Chucky's been possessed by Charles Lee Ray all this time.
Right.
What if an actual demon possessed Chucky?
I like that. That'd be,
let's do it.
Call it like Chucky, I don't know, Resurrection. Isn't there a resurrection of many different horror movies? There you go. Chucky Believer.
There you go. David Gordon Green, where you at?
Yep.
I did finish watching something really good last night.
Ooh, what'd you watch?
I finally finished watching The Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh, okay. And
I'm going to tell you this right now.
Okay.
If and when you decide to watch it,
mm-hmm.
I highly recommend it. But
okay.
I also recommend that you give it at least to the end of the second episode.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's when you'll be hooked.
Okay. And it's Michael Dougherty, right, that did this?
Not at all. It's Mike Flanagan.
Oh, that's right. That's wow. That's who I meant. I swear. Wowza.
Good job.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Welcome to the podcast.
Where Scotty does research and Andrew's just there.
Well, I need somebody, so I'm not just talking to myself.
Yeah. Like a radio DJ.
I believe.
I love you. What?
I believe. Because I'm a believer.
Gosh. Oh, okay. like Exorcist Believer.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I got it.
But wait, who sang that song? I am a believer. I can't sing it because
don't.
We get sued.
Yep.
But
yep. We've never gotten sued yet.
It's the monkeys. Of course, it's the monkeys.
Oh, yes. There we go. Yep. I won't mention anything about her face or anything like that because those are lyrics. I can't say them.
Oh, is that part of the lyrics?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I used to watch the show. I don't know the lyrics. I'm terrible.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Exorcist Believer, everybody.
Lost track of time. Angela, can you tell your dad how long you've been gone? How long?
Why do you keep asking me that?
It's important.
Why do you keep asking?
It sounds like she knows too.
Angela, just tell your father the same thing you told me. How long do you think you were gone?
I don't know. A few hours?
No. Baby, you've been gone 3 days.
The Exorcist Believer was directed by David Gordon Green, as everybody probably knows. It was written also by David Gordon Green, Peter Sattler, Scott Teems, and Danny McBride. And it stars Leslie Odom Jr., Lydia Jewett, Olivia O'Neill, Ann Dowd, Ellen Burstyn, Norbert Leo Butts, and Jennifer Nettles.
Nice. And of course, everyone, this is your spoiler warning. We're going to talk about this movie, and we're probably going to bring up the original Exorcist as well. So just heads up, if you haven't seen that, go watch both. And if you're like, I don't want to watch the original, I've seen it so many times, I wish someone made an episode, like a podcast episode about it. Well, guess what? We did. Go listen. And then come back to this episode and take a listen. But again, spoiler warning, we're going to spoil 2 movies today, whenever you're listening to this. But, buddy, oh man, I'm ready to do this, but we're going to do the 3-minute recap. But we're rolling the...
do it, though.
I know, we're rolling the die again, and the last 2 have been yours truly. So...
All right. I'm going to tell you right now that there is a 15 showing on the die at this moment. I haven't hit re-roll yet, so...
Okay.
All right, here we go, buddy. Odd or even?
All right, I've done odd the last 2 times, so there's gotta... Statistics say if I pick odd again, it's not me, so I'm going to go odd.
It's a 3.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Andrew,
all right. Yeah.
I have both Pazuzu and Lamashtu outside of your apartment. Now, an Exorcist believer, 2 girls get possessed by the same demon, but if you don't make it in under 3 minutes, you, one person, are going to get possessed by 2 demons.
Whoa.
2 demons, 1 Andrew.
Oh, man. Call me Legion. All right. Let me just make sure I get all the names right. I was not planning for this. I thought statistics were in my favor. They weren't. You know what? If I mess up some names, I mess up some names. That's just...
And just so everybody knows, you see the result. You've seen the result of the virtual die that I roll. So you know that I'm not cheating.
I know you're not cheating. I trust you with my life. I know you would never cheat. I have seen it, so.
Go ahead.
Oh, boy.
I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime.
All right. Exorcist Believer starts out in Haiti with Victor and his wife. They're taking pictures. They're going to visiting. They're going to see churches, things like that. One night, though, Victor is out, and there's a giant earthquake, which crushes his wife. At the time, though, she is pregnant, and the doctors say we can either save your wife or your daughter. We cut to 13 years later, where he is now living with his 13-year-old daughter. His daughter and her friend has a friend at school, and one day after school, they decide to go out into the forest where she wants to communicate with her dead mother. But they go missing. So the parents, Victor and the parents of the other girl, decide they need to find their daughters, obviously. Other people kind of come into this at certain times to try and do different prayers or different practices to see if they can help Victor and this other family out to find their daughters. There's also a neighbor. I'm not going to look up the name. There's a neighbor because we're going to talk about it. Help me. Anne, thank you. Neighbor Anne, who is a nurse, and she's kind of a stick in the mud at the beginning, but wants to help out. Anyway, we'll get back to her. So, after 3 days, the girls show up in a barn, but they're a little bit different. So they're taken to the hospital. Parents are excited to see them, obviously, but as with The Exorcist, things happen to these young ladies. They start acting erratic. They start acting violent. At one point, one of the girls turns to Anne and tells Anne about a time where she, way back in the day, when she was going to be a nun, when Anne was going to be a nun, she had a certain name that she was going to use and wasn't able to use it or become a nun because she had an abortion, which this possessed girl mentions. Anne now knows that this girl is possessed because she's told no one this information. So, without further ado, she goes to get an exorcist, and she tells Victor someone might be able to help. Chris McNeil is there from the original Exorcist, which is fantastic. He goes to visit with her. She goes to talk to one of the girls, and one of the girls that's possessed actually jabs Chris McNeil's eyes out with a crucifix. It's pretty dark, pretty violent. Eventually, they get an exorcism, which we've been waiting for this exorcism to come and happen. Except the Catholic priest says, I can't do it. I'm not allowed to do it. So Anne takes the reins, as well as some other people, and they tie the girls down in these chairs and begin the exorcism. Eventually, the priest does come in, but immediately gets his neck snapped backwards. So again, this group of people is doing this exorcism. During this time, though, the demons, the possessed girls, mention that only one of the girls can be saved. They just have to pick which one. The parents don't decide to do this until the very end, when the father of the other girl says he wants her to be saved, but it was a trick. Victor's daughter is actually the one that's saved because of this trick by the demon. Unfortunately, the other girl is dragged to hell. We see her dragged down to hell before she dies. But after that, we get kind of a happy ending-ish, where everyone else is pretty excited about life. And that's about it. Oh my gosh, that was tough.
You came in just under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The demons have gone away. Leslie Odom Jr. actually called me, and he said he loves it when you do the 3-minute recap.
Oh, well, I love it when he sings about Theodosia, so...
Hamilton, everybody.
Yeah, Hamilton. He's great in that. Go watch it.
Buddy, so I've been really looking forward to talking to you about this movie. Just like The Exorcist, I know that you are a church-going man.
I am, true.
This is a interesting conversation to have with you especially.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about that. I also, strangely enough, would love to talk about the experience of test screenings. And we'll get to that.
Oh, all right. Okay.
But first of all, you know that I am a fan of this movie. I like this movie more than the average bear, more than most people seem to like it. I go on Letterboxd and I look at the reviews, and it just makes me weep because of how much people seem to hate this movie.
Yeah.
So what did you think of The Exorcist Believer?
Well, buddy, I have to say, I don't know what people are talking about because I had a heck of a time watching this movie. I thought it was excellent. I don't know what people are complaining about. I genuinely love this movie, period.
Fantastic.
Yeah, man.
Fantastic. So everybody listening, we are two fans of The Exorcist Believer.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to tell you why.
Yeah, we are.
Look at that.
Look at that. Yeah, that's why I was excited to talk to you about it, because I'm like, I didn't look up much, except I knew it had a pretty, bad review. Or a lot of bad reviews, but I'm like, I don't know why. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I know at first I was kind of nervous what you would think of this movie, but the other thing that stuck in my mind is that you did not grow up with The Exorcist.
Right.
You didn't see it for the first time until last year.
Right.
So I thought that maybe that would actually put The Exorcist Believer in your favor,
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
So,
and yeah, I can definitely see that. And we'll discuss that more, because I think you're right.
We will. Now, let me know if you feel the same way. One of the things I remember when I first saw the movie, and I still kind of feel the same way, is that after watching it the first time, the one thing I thought David Gordon Green, or everybody involved, I thought the movie could have gone a little bit further with scenes and situations that made the audience uncomfortable. For instance, let's go to the church scene, which I feel like is supposed to be one of the most uncomfortable scenes. That and Catherine, little Catherine, stabbing out Chris McNeil's eyes.
Right.
But the church scene, for instance.
Which, I'm trying to think, which church scene? Like where Anne goes to see everybody?
No, Catherine in the church, the little girl in the church, and she's.
Oh, right. Sorry, yes. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Totally, I was going to a conversation or something. I'm like, what was an awkward conversation? No,
it's okay.
Got it.
You've seen the movie once. I've now seen the movie 4 times. So.
Oh my Lord.
Well, it had a commentary, so I watched the commentary as well.
Fair enough.
But anyway, you have Catherine sitting in the church, and the first time I watched the movie, I'm kind of nervous. Like, what's going to happen? Holy crap. This is a demon in a church.
Right.
And there's maybe the hint that this 12, 13-year-old girl is playing with herself.
Yeah. Yep.
Which, that's fine. That's not really what I'm talking about. But then the big climax of that scene is her walking down the aisle of the church covered in wine, red wine, and screaming, "Body in the blood, body in the blood, body in the blood." And I was like, is that it? Really?
Yeah.
Like, I know that's kind of embarrassing for the parents and everything, but, all she's doing is screaming "body in the blood." Like, I wanted to see a little bit more. I wanted something that would make me feel more uncomfortable as a viewer.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, and I think, honestly, going back to the first movie, there's a scene that I fast forwarded that was uncomfortable. That would have been tough, obviously, to do something like that. But I get what they did something very uncomfortable in that one. So I get that by just doing this part, it maybe wasn't. But for me, I didn't think about that. I just thought she looked really creepy in the middle coming down the church. So I was on board for it. I was like, that works. Okay. But I absolutely see where you're coming from, though. So I totally see that point.
Yeah, I think that's the only main. I probably have smaller quibbles that we'll touch on when we get through the movie, but that was the main thing that I took away from the first time. Otherwise, I took away just this feeling of having seen a really good story and not knowing where the hell they were going to go with a trilogy, which supposedly is still in the plans, but just without David Gordon Green directing, which for me, that makes me sad because unlike all of the haters out there, and no offense to you if you legitimately don't like this movie, but there's just a lot of people that seem to just now hate on David Gordon Green just to hate on him.
Right. Yeah.
Because they hate what he did with Halloween Ends or what have you. And, I'm at this point kind of a David Gordon Green fanboy because I'm a huge fan of Halloween Ends. And now I'm not as big a fan of Exorcist Believer as I am of Halloween Ends.
Sure.
But I am a big fan of this movie. I love the concept. I love the concept that, first of all, exorcisms and demon possession have always been talked about in terms of Catholicism. Stuff like that. I love the idea that this movie barely had anything to do with Catholicism.
Right. Yeah. Different groups it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I liked it too.
Demon possession isn't limited to a person because of what religion they are.
Right.
The girls open themselves up, the demon possesses them, and then all these people of different religions and different types of beliefs come together to try and expel this demon from them.
Right. I liked that too. I thought that was kind of an interesting concept. And even, when you bring that up, it totally brings up the scene in the movie where the priest kind of does come in during this exorcism. And it's almost like the music, swells up and it's like, hey, we have this is the person that's going to do it. And then immediately dies. And it was kind of almost like you said, we had these other religions there too. It wasn't necessarily Catholicism. It was everybody. And it was kind of a nice, but it was this is like an all religion kind of exorcism, guys. We're telling you that right now by doing this. So it was an interesting way to do it. And I liked it. I thought I was on board.
I will say that moment where the priest decides to come inside finally. I go back and forth on that. That's kind of a fault of the movie for me. But at the same time, it's also kind of a David Gordon Green moment. It bothers me because at the beginning of the entire Exorcist, when the priest says he can't do it, he tells Anne, he gives her the Bible, and he tells her just follow all the rules or whatever. Don't get near them. He tells her not to go near the girls. And all of these people performing the exorcism, they are amateurs at this. They don't know what they're doing. They're just using their belief to expel this demon. And even they keep saying, don't touch them. Don't touch them. And then he comes in. First of all, he walks in And as you said, the music swelled. Somebody said in a review something that I just never can get out of my mind when I watch this movie. They said the funniest part was when the priest enters the room like one of the Avengers arriving.
Yes, that's exactly right. Oh my gosh. Wow.
It is such a heroic moment. But then the first thing he does is lay his hands on their head. And I'm like, really, dude? Really?
Just told them not to do that. Yes. Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
But yeah, other than that, you know, the other thing, okay, this is a small quibble.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this even back when we talked about The Exorcist, but they don't really mention ever the demon who is possessing these girls.
True.
We know from interviews and from behind the scenes stuff that the creators, David Gordon Green and others, have said that the demon in this movie is not Pazuzu from the first movie. It is Lamashtu.
Right. Yep.
And as I said, the interesting thing about that is that in reality, in the real world, the legend of Pazuzu, the demon, is that Pazuzu is not so much of an evil demon.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's right.
Pazuzu is there to protect women, pregnant women, and babies from Lamashtu. Because Lamashtu preys on pregnant women and newborn babies, which makes this movie very interesting. If you think about that, because the beginning of the movie, pregnant woman.
Right. Yep.
And, man, did you mention during the 3-minute recap that it's revealed that the choice that he made a different choice?
Oh, no. I forgot.
No, it's okay.
I forgot to mention that.
That's okay. So the reveal, obviously, for everybody who's seen the movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, we already warned you of spoilers.
That's right.
But the reveal is that at the beginning, when he has to make the choice between his wife and this unborn baby, this baby that's almost being born, because one of them, they both can't make it. It's because of the earthquake and the damage done, they can only save one of them. And the next thing we see is 13 years in the future, and he is a single father raising his daughter, Angela. So we assume throughout the movie that he chose the baby. You know, he said, I want to save the baby. But we find out during the exorcism, because Lamashtu, speaking through Angela, calls him out, and we find out that he actually chose his wife to live. But she ended up dying anyway.
Right. Yep.
Ooh, that's heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy. Yep. Yeah, that was a good moment. And I'm surprised I didn't, because you know how I am with like twists. I usually try and get them, but I didn't even think about it. It just shows 13 years later, so you just assume. And so when that hit, I was like, oof, that's dark, deep, heavy. So a good reveal for sure. As a viewer.
Yeah, I did. I like the beginning. I think it's a good beginning because of the parallels that it has with the original movie. And let me stop right here, because this is something else I've talked about. I think a big problem with people not liking this movie is that they expect it to be the original too much. And I think, obviously I could be wrong. People have legitimate concerns and issues with this movie. That's fine.
Right.
But I do think part of the reason I was able to enjoy the movie was because I put aside the first movie. I know that no movie will ever become even close to The Exorcist for me. I think The Exorcist is a perfect horror movie. It's one of the greatest ever made. And so, yeah, you're making a sequel. Don't just make a good story.
Right.
Don't try and remake the original. And I think that they did a good job doing that in this movie. But that said, the beginning of the movie, I like how it opens with the two dogs playing on the beach.
Yeah.
I like how it opens in an exotic locale.
Right.
For the opening of the movie. And then we go to just small town America. So I did like that.
Yeah.
And what about you?
No, I agree. Just fun aside. my wife has been to that area in Haiti and was like, she's like, I think they really did film there because that is exactly what it was like. So no, they didn't.
They
Wow.
filmed in the Dominican Republic.
Well, look at that. She was like, it looked a lot like that when she was there. So kind of the area where they're selling stuff and all that.
Yeah.
So that's a fun little aside.
So,
but
in a way, that's even more impressive because
for sure.
They made Haiti look like the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to be cool and pronounce it correctly, but
you know what? I love you. No, but I agree with you. I like the intro. I thought it was, it like you said, I mean, it does have some of those parallels, but again, this movie was its own thing, which I'm grateful for. I'm happy that it was its own thing. I'm glad it didn't try and follow that formula because I feel like if it did follow that formula, I mean, you're going to get haters either way, which is a bummer. But if they did follow the formula, you'd get haters saying like, it's too much like the original. We need it different.
yeah,
Which is just a bummer of a situation. Just enjoy the movie. But but I like that it was different, but I did enjoy. I always like a little bit of parallel. So the beginning, I totally agree. I enjoyed the little parallels. It was a nice, I don't know, Easter egg, I guess, if you will.
absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing David Gordon Green pointed out in the commentary, which I appreciated, was that in this movie, there does seem to be a catalyst moment when Lamashtu enters the two girls.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there is not that moment in The Exorcist.
True.
You kind of assume it's because she's playing with the Ouija board and Captain Howdy.
Right.
But there's not like a single moment where you're watching the movie and you're like, there it is.
Yep.
That's when Pazuzu found her.
Right.
But even though he did say that, I do like the idea that Lamashtu might have been kind of somewhat attached to them, and that because of a pregnant woman and everything,
mm-hmm.
and that when Angela and Catherine go down in that little tunnel thing and do the ritual, that opened them up.
Right. Yep. I agree. That tunnel was creepy too, and I enjoyed. I mean, the ending's bleak, man. With
oh my god.
Hofta.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. Never mind. We'll get back to it. Yeah.
Yep. We'll get to that for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, the whole thing in the tunnel, that was very creepy to me.
Yeah, me too.
Like you. The thing I really, really do like about this movie, though,
mm-hmm.
a lot of things were very authentic to me.
Okay.
I know they were going for the same type of kind of documentary type feel of the first movie by
mm-hmm.
using a muted color palette.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if this was shot on film, but it seemed to have some of the grain that comes with film.
Right.
They also made a concerted effort in the editing of the movie to do like these quick jarring cuts.
Mm.
Like for instance, when it first goes 13 years to the present day, you're seeing like these nice idyllic scenes of this small town that they're in.
Right.
And then you'll have a quick jarring cut of the little finger game, the number game with the paper. I don't even know what that's called.
I don't either. I actually have no idea what that's called.
But little jarring things like that, they did that specifically because the first movie did that too.
Nice.
And they wanted to have that same kind of edit in there. They wanted it to feel somewhat familiar, but also they wanted everything to feel authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And as a church-going person,
mm-hmm.
have you ever been to a Baptist church?
Not a Baptist church, huh? No, I haven't.
Because that's one thing. I've been in a Baptist church. I've been to Baptist churches, even though I was raised kind of as a Catholic kid,
mm-hmm.
or I was baptized or whatever. And that part was very familiar to me.
Mm. Okay.
Not a little girl walking down the aisle covered in wine, but just the way the pastor was talking,
mm-hmm.
the way he was talking to the congregation, and the way that church just felt.
Yeah,
I was like, oh wow, that's a Baptist church, isn't it?
Nice,
you know? Yeah. Yeah, that was
that's
cool.
Funny.
One of my favorite things about this movie, though,
mm-hmm.
I love the idea of how this was also very authentic to me, and I'm trying to get the right words. The idea and the kind of the study of first impressions of people.
Mm-hmm.
How we may misconstrue what type of person somebody is.
Yes.
For instance, when Victor and Angela come out of their house at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and Dowd, as Anne, comes out of her place, and she says, "You gonna move your garbage?
Right.
You're just gonna leave it there all week?" And you get the idea that she's like this nosy, busybody neighbor.
Totally. Yep.
But she ends up being this very caring, wonderful person who is very, very, like, she cares deeply about this little girl that lives next door to her. And
Very
wants
much
to
so.
help her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Catherine's parents, while not perfect,
Right.
they come across in the beginning as these rude, maybe casually racist,
Right.
religious parents.
Right.
And even though they still have their faults throughout the movie, they come together too.
Right. Yep.
Because there's
Yeah.
almost like a moment of realization when they're like both putting up missing signs on the posts.
Yep.
There's realizations that we're going through the same thing.
Yep. That was a good moment too, where they just make eye contact. Because you get it. You get it. Yeah.
I liked the relationship between the mom, Miranda, and Victor, because I feel like, see, this is oh man, I'm just going all over the place. Sorry, buddy.
I know. I love it.
But the way Miranda and Victor relate to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and it almost seems like Tony, the father, Catherine's
Right.
father, doesn't relate in quite the same way.
I agree. Absolutely. Yep.
Tony is the one that has the hardest time giving himself into the exorcism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he stays outside for a while.
Right.
He finally comes in and he takes off his shoes the way he's supposed to, and he becomes part of it.
Right.
But of course, he's also, as we find out, Lamashtu, as the demon controlling both girls, says you have to choose one or the other. One dies and the other lives. Who are you going to choose? If you don't choose, they both die.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was interesting. But
Yeah.
the idea that it's a demon, so it's all a trick. And as soon as he shows the weakness to, and it's an understandable weakness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's doing it. I mean, what I liked is that everyone did take their time, though. He doesn't just do it right away, because obviously this is heavy and this is a big thing. And again, it's a demon, so who knows what's going through their heads? Is it a trick? Is it not? I don't know. But I get it. After so long, they're both dying essentially, or it seems like they're both dying. So of course, for your kiddo, you're gonna, okay, I'm taking the reins. I'm doing what I feel is the right choice, which of course, was the wrong choice. But
you
I
still
get it.
feel like he's the one that shows a little bit of weakness,
Right?
Because Victor and Miranda, they seem to look at each other, and they're on the same page.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
We can't choose,
Right.
even though it's killing them. Because like, what if Lamashtu is being honest and she's going to kill both of them?
Right. Yep.
But then it's heartbreaking.
Oh
Let's
my
talk
gosh.
about this, because to me, I didn't even the heartbreak of Lamashtu tricking them, and when Catherine's dad says, "I choose you, Catherine,"
Yep.
and then Lamashtu kills Catherine
Sheesh.
and keeps Angela alive.
Mm-hmm.
That was heartbreaking. But I'll tell you something, dude.
Lay it on me.
I'll tell you something, buddy. This time, watching it this time, it really, really impacted me. The moment you see Catherine in the tunnel afterwards, and you see the demons dragging her into the water.
Yeah, dude.
Basically dragging her down to hell.
Yep.
That, to me, was maybe the most terrifying and the saddest part. And I'll tell you something else. Every time I watch this movie, that part has impacted me more and more.
Wow, yeah. Yeah.
Like, sometimes emotional moments impact you less the more times you see something.
Right.
But that one just made more of an impact on me every single time I watched it. And the fourth time I was watching it and I got to that moment, I like had tears in my eyes, and I was just terrified for this little girl.
Yeah. And so you and I once talked with my wife, Cindy, because we were talking, I think it was after the Exorcist podcast, where we were talking about kind of like what happens when someone's possessed and if they die, you know, what do you think would happen? And she mentioned, you know, I think like within these movies, you know, if they're possessed and they die, like the devil, demons, whatever, has their soul, so it gets it. It's keeping that soul. Even if they die, like they're not getting redeemed or, you know, going to heaven or whatever. It's like they you know, the demon has them and he's taking them. And like I always looked at it in a movie, like if we're watching this, I always am like, yeah, if they're possessed but then they die, like they're at peace then, like the demon has to let go, whatever. And I looked at it like this positive light. Watching this and seeing kind of what she had described, I was like, oh my gosh, that's horrifying. Like, this little girl's done nothing. I mean, she's 13. She's a kid. She's just a kid. 12, 13, whatever she is. And, like, gets dragged to hell for, you know, essentially eternal. I mean, like, what? That's horrifying. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. That was brutal to watch that. That was brutal.
Now, I don't know what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a little moment in the commentary after that part where David Gordon Green just kind of, it seemed like he was alluding to the idea that maybe part of the overarching story in all three movies, that maybe her soul would end up being okay. Like maybe something would happen to redeem her soul and release her soul from hell.
See, that's exactly what I thought, because after this movie ended on kind of a bleak note, I mean, we get a happy thing at the end, but it's bleak. I thought, well, they're doing 3 of these, so there's got to be something with her, I don't know, somehow getting out of that. There has to be. I'm like, that optimism in me, I guess, showed up and was like, she's got to get out of this. Like, there's got to be something. So that must be what the next tour about. Who knows? But that's what I'm hoping for, because I'm like, that's horrible, man. Jeez.
Well, now that we're talking about the little girls being possessed and all, let's take a moment, because in my opinion, Lydia Jewett played Angela and Olivia O'Neill played Catherine. Those little girls were incredible.
Agreed. Yep.
When you watch the possession scenes, and you see what they're doing, and you're realizing that a little 12, 13-year-old actress is doing this, is acting this part.
Yeah.
Good Lord. They cast this movie so well.
It was perfect. It was, I'm with you 100%. Like the whole cast was great, but yeah, those two just stood out. They were fantastic and horrifying. Like, and I mean, they're just these little actresses, which is great, but I mean, they can become these literal demons. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, totally agree.
It's like, if you think back to the first Exorcist, a lot of it was Linda Blair, but she also had a double. She had a double who was in the makeup a lot of the times doing the more intense scenes. From what I understand in this movie, it was always these 2 little girls in makeup.
Wild. That's amazing.
And one thing they pointed out about that makeup is that everything that you see has a basis in the character of that person. Like, for instance, a lot of the characterization of Catherine's possession shows a swollen forehead, and then when Chris McNeil goes up to her bedroom, she's got like kind of a bloody forehead. Her hairline is receding, and there's like some caked on blood up there. The idea is that she bumps her head against something, and that makes her forehead swell up.
Okay.
And that she's got this fixation with pulling her hair out. And when she pulls her hair out, she pulls, you know, the roots out with it and makes her head bleed and everything.
Sheesh.
And it's the same thing with Angela. She's got a swollen face, and the idea is that she hits herself and just the demon is making her punish herself and stuff. And so her face would be swollen the way it is.
Jeez.
David Gordon Green, one of his kind of something he insisted on was that all of the makeup on them would be based on something real. Like, what is the purpose of this piece of makeup on them? You know?
Right on. Wild, man. That's cool, though. I love that. I love that. See, it's such a bummer that he's not coming back. Because even though, I'll say this, you and I have a differing opinion on Halloween Ends. If you don't know, everyone go listen to our episode. But
And I feel like it's just because you haven't watched it another time.
Fair enough. That being said, even though it wasn't my favorite, this was really good. So I'm not going to judge David Gordon Green by that one movie. I'm so happy he did this one. I'm so bummed that he's not going to do the next two. Like, that sucks. He has a vision. I like his ideas, even if sometimes they don't hit with me. I still wish that we'd get to see more of what he can do. That sucks, man. It's a bummer.
I hope he's listening to us.
I do too.
I hope Blumhouse is listening to us. Guys,
that'd be awesome.
Get him back.
Yes, please.
Don't listen to the people that don't like this movie, because there's people that like it.
Yeah.
I know it didn't make a lot of money, but, theaters are not doing so well. Come on.
Come on. Come on.
David Gordon Green, come on. We love you.
Come on. Yep, we love you.
Movie.
Come on.
Did you know that the original draft of this movie had 3 little girls getting possessed?
No way. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
But
wow.
They figured 2 girls was the perfect balance. And I did like that. I liked that there were moments especially during the exorcism, where the girls were kind of doing things in sync.
Yes. Yep.
And they weren't doing it perfectly in sync so that it would be kind of cartoonish.
Right.
But they were both looking in the same direction a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that.
Yeah. I like that part. Or those parts.
Quibble.
Here we go. Okay.
Because so much practical makeup effects were done so well in this movie.
Yeah.
One part that stood out to me as not so good is the part where they expel the vapor from their mouths, and it's obvious CG vapor.
Yep. Yep.
And then the I'm not sure what religion they were, but the woman,
I don't know either.
Yeah, she's doing more of a pagan ritual, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she spits like gasoline in the fire or something, and then smoke billows out of the fire and attacks the vapor, and that's all kind of obvious CG.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with you.
I
agree.
That.
Yeah, I agree. I get that.
But that said, so we have those amazing shots that were in the trailer and everything of the 2 girls back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And we see both of their faces, and especially the shot where they both look up and the cross appears in the girl's skin.
Yep.
Catherine's. Did you notice that, having seen the trailer, did you notice that in the police station when the girls are missing, there's a really cool shot of Victor and Miranda standing kind of back to back. Victor is looking towards her husband and Miranda's looking the other way. And it's just kind of like a foreshadowing type shot. Victor and Miranda, same way the girls are back to back during the exorcism.
I like that. I did not catch that. That's awesome, though. That's cool. Oh, beautiful.
What did you think of Chris McNeil and that character's inclusion in this movie?
I think it's great. Like, I'm sure some of it was fan service of like, hey, we got, she's back. But I liked it. I thought it was a good way to introduce her to this movie. Obviously, like, she's an expert. And I like that she, at least with this movie, kind of what they say. And I've never seen Exorcist 2 and 3, so I don't really know her story in those, if there is any. But I like that she kind of went on, even though she was this actress in the first one, she kind of went on to write these books and these things about exorcisms. And I was like, that's interesting. That's kind of a cool way to do that, and become kind of this expert. So I thought that was a good way to incorporate her without, I don't know, it just seemed like a puzzle piece that fit. The way they made her character after The Exorcist makes sense to how she would help, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Okay.
And a lot of what they ended up doing with her character came from conversations between Ellen Burstyn,
cool,
Chris McNeil, obviously, and David Gordon Green.
Oh, that's cool.
He talked about they would have lots of conversations. And so, yeah, like some of the conversation between Chris and Victor when he goes to visit her comes straight from conversations that she and David had.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that she was part of that. I think that's great. Like, she knows that character, so I love that. That's beautiful.
I am a little bit iffy on the whole eye gouging scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, you brought Chris into this movie only to take her out.
Right.
Because of this little girl.
Right.
And the first time I watched the movie, I was like, why did she even go up there? But then that started to make sense on repeat viewings because she can't do an exorcism. She's not a priest, but she has become somewhat of a authority on exorcisms in different cultures. And she has actually visited different parents and their children who are going through things, whether it is an exorcism or not.
Right.
And it does make sense to me a little bit that she would go up and see for herself what's going on with Catherine.
Right. See, to me, it kind of made sense because her one hope, which hope and love kind of are the exact opposite of demons, the evil, whatever. Her one hope, literally the one thing that she really wants, is to see her daughter again. So I almost looked at it like that demon, I can take the one thing that she really wants. She'll never see her daughter again.
Wow.
So that's how I saw it.
That's pretty good, buddy. I didn't even think of it like that.
Thanks, man.
But that brings us to the biggest surprise of the movie, possibly the biggest surprise, unless it was spoiled for you beforehand.
Yeah.
Was it spoiled for you beforehand?
It was so you commented on it. It wasn't your comment that I saw it. But someone on Facebook posted it and he said, that's a really big spoiler. And I was like, thank you, Scotty. So that's how I saw it. It said, I don't even remember what it said, but Reagan. And I was like, shoot.
Yeah. I think I went to the admin afterwards and said, hey, that's a pretty big spoiler for somebody who hasn't seen the movie. And I was actually thinking of you.
Yeah.
And I think he had it taken down, but
good.
I think you saw it, obviously. But
yeah, I did. And which is, it's not that person's fault, but I was like, oh, shoot. Now I know
No, it is that person's fault.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It is.
All right.
I would never
Yeah,
spoil that for somebody. Unless I've given them a spoiler warning at the beginning of a podcast.
I know.
I would never
nice.
say, hey, when you watch Exorcist Believer, wait until Reagan shows up at the end.
Right.
That's great.
That's true. You're right. Yeah.
But that said, so what that does, Chris getting her eyes gouged out by Lamashtu, basically, it is the catalyst for the very final scene of the movie.
Right.
In which she's sitting in her hospital room with her eyes bandaged, and she hears somebody come in, and she says, Victor, is that you?
Mm-hmm.
And it's Reagan.
Yeah.
Who Chris has not spoken to in many years because Reagan was mad that Chris wrote books on Reagan's experience.
Right.
And got them published. And so, yeah, Reagan had distanced herself from Chris. Chris wasn't even sure if Reagan was still alive or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she finally comes. Now, it's a beautiful scene.
Right.
I actually liked the scene a lot. Did you watch the little bonus feature?
No, I want you to tell me about it, though.
Oh, no.
Why?
I wanted you to watch it because it's such an emotional thing.
Oh, shoot. All right. I will watch it. I will. I just didn't.
Okay. Well, I have to tell you part of it.
Yeah, please. Just do it.
Basically, the call sheet for that day did not list Linda Blair on the call sheet.
Oh.
They didn't want anybody else to know that Linda Blair was coming in. Ellen Burstyn knew.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
Right.
She knew
yeah.
because she knows the script. She knows the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But before they shot that scene, her and Linda Blair had not seen each other for many, many years.
Oh.
They did not talk before the scene was shot. So the moment that they got on camera was the first moment that Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair had met in many, many years.
That's awesome.
And that is the cut, the take that they used in the movie.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I love that. That's sweet.
So I know you're busy, buddy, but please take 4.5 minutes of your busy life schedule and watch that little bonus feature.
Okay, that's really cute. That's actually adorable. I love that.
Yeah, it made me tear up a little bit watching it. So
that's sweet.
And I'm telling you to still watch it because I knew about it because David Gordon Green talked about it in the commentary. but it still affected me when I actually saw them filming that shot, that scene.
Oh, for sure.
So
For sure.
But that's another thing. Like, we still don't know in this trilogy. Well, is Reagan going to have a bigger part of this trilogy? Is she going to?
Right.
And I don't know if I really want her to.
Right. Right.
Like, with Chris's character, it made sense. But
Mm-hmm.
does it make sense for Reagan to become part of this and, God forbid, get possessed again?
Right. Oh, my gosh. Well, I mean, again, though, if she is, it could be a nice shout-out to the original, because I don't know names. Help me out. But the older priest.
Father Marin.
Thank you, Father Marin, had once dealt with Pazuzu way back in the day. We find out.
Yeah.
It could be a nice little parallel. She dealt with him along, blah, blah,
No,
blah.
I'm just saying, as long as she doesn't get possessed again.
Right, yeah, I would hope they wouldn't do that. I feel like, I don't know. I would hope not. I'm with you.
Although fan service, wouldn't it be cool to have her older Reagan be put in that makeup again?
I mean, that would be pretty cool. Just give us a dream sequence or something. We just want to see it. We don't want it to be like part of the story.
Yeah. Speaking of dream sequence, what'd you think of Lamashtu? They actually show Lamashtu during the final moments of the exorcism.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
It's like the part, it's at the very end of the exorcism, after Tony has chosen Catherine, and then both girls levitate off their chairs.
Yeah, dude.
And according to the commentary, basically, you're seeing some things at that moment through the eyes of Lamashtu, of the demon, of the girls.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I didn't pick up on in the first movie either. There's also the part where Angela is talking to her father, and she's having flashbacks. He's saying, what happened down there?
Oh, right. Right.
And she's saying she doesn't remember, but she's having like these flashes of like her eyes back in her head. And
right.
And for some reason, it just didn't strike me that, she's like having flashes of what happened. We're seeing some images of what happened.
Right. Yeah.
Just like
that's cool.
At the end, you're kind of seeing some things from, like you're seeing her expel the demon in this black liquid or something onto the ceiling. But then you see like these black and white flashes of this naked old hag of a creature.
Yeah.
With a bird beak nose.
Yeah, dude. Wild.
Evidently, so Christopher Nelson had done the makeup for this.
Nice.
Just like I think he worked with David Gordon Green on the Halloween movies as well.
Oh, nice.
Amazing job.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, man.
I think one of his first kind of proofs, ideas, images that he sent David Gordon Green was this old lady, and she still had this, like a dead suckling pig on her one boob. And I forget what was on the other, but something else, like a snake, I think, attached to her other one. And they didn't go with that.
Right.
But that also is kind of what Lamashtu is seen as. Like Lamashtu has dead baby pigs suckling on her breasts, I think, if I remember reading correctly.
Right on.
But anyway, what'd you think of that eerie, crazy looking thing?
Oh, I'm all about it. I mean, one thing, you and I have talked about this, when we finally see a creature or the whatever, it can take us out of it. And both of us, but I'll speak for myself. It can take me out of it for sure. But when it's done like this, where it's quick, you get just glimpses. I mean, they kind of even did it in the original, at least the director's cut. We see Pazuzu a little bit every once in a while. And I liked that. I'm like, ooh, that's effective. I just get a glimpse. I get like a taste. But I don't get this whole chase scene with this creature where we're just following the creature for 10 minutes. And you're like, all right.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So I liked it. I was all about it. I thought it was great.
Also, going back to acting, one thing I forgot to say earlier when I was talking about how good a lot of the acting was. First of all, Ann Dowd, of course.
Right.
She's always great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, always.
But repeat viewings of this movie, the actors that impressed me a lot were actually Tony and Miranda.
Oh, nice.
Tony played by Norbert Leo Butz and Miranda played by Jennifer Nettles.
Mm-hmm.
Those two really impressed me just because they just felt authentic. I felt like I had grown up with kids who had these parents.
I get you.
know?
Yeah.
So I really like that. Of course, Leslie Odom Jr. was good.
You're right. Yeah.
Did you know that when he was a big fan of The Exorcist, the original?
Nice.
So when he heard that they were making this movie, he sent an audition or a letter or something to David Gordon Green.
That's awesome.
And about 8 months later, he found out that they wanted him to audition for it. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. That's so cool. And he nailed it. So, hey.
I thought the cinematography was beautiful.
Yeah.
I thought it was incredibly well filmed. It was Michael Simmonds, who also shot the Halloween trilogy.
Nice. Makes sense.
Which you can kind of tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, again, just beautiful, beautiful shots of this small town.
Yeah.
Some really amazing angles of the different characters talking and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
One shot, and it's somewhat his shooting, but also just the scene that really affects me, is the aftermath after the exorcism. And
right.
Showing the different characters, like, going through their lives, and Anne is talking to a police woman about evil.
Right.
What do you think evil is? And there's this one shot of this empty diner, and Tony is sitting at this diner table, and then Miranda is walking in.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it is one of the most intriguing shots of the entire movie. Because how do they go on after this?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Sorry, did I say Amanda? If I said Amanda, I apologize. Miranda,
yeah. Yeah.
Does Miranda blame Tony for the death of Catherine? Because she does immediately when he says, "I choose you, Catherine." Immediately she says, "No, don't."
Right. Yep.
Or does she rightfully blame Lamashtu for tricking them and killing their daughter?
Right. Yeah, that would be... Yeah, that's a good point, man. That would be an interesting conversation.
Are they estranged? It's just such
right.
an interesting...
Yeah.
I want to be inside that diner. I want to hear that conversation.
You want to be in the room where it happened?
Podcast over.
Thank you. One thing I do want to say about this movie is when we watched it was late at night, and I watched with Cindy, and I was like, I mean, it's late, so I'm like, if we do like half tonight, we totally can, and then we'll finish tomorrow night. I was so invested though in this movie, and so was Cindy, that we just watched it. Like, we couldn't turn it off. And even afterward, I was like, I paused it because I was like, it's getting late, and I paused it, and there was only like 20 minutes left. I was like, what? I thought we'd been sitting here for like 40 minutes, and it had been like an hour and 20, hour and a half, something like that. I was like, wow, this movie shot by. I was in for the ride, man. It was nice.
It's really well paced, in my opinion. So I agree with you. Even rewatching it with the commentary, rewatching it for notes, what have you, I just realized watching it those times how well this movie was paced. And then you get to like right before the exorcism, and there's like still 30 minutes left in the movie, but you're like, good. Good.
Yeah.
Give me like 30 minutes of this, you know?
Right. Yep.
And even during the exorcism, there's some nice quiet moments to, you know, like little reprieves.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So that you can take a breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a bunch of little notes that looking at them, I wanted to go over. One thing is that I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I can't remember when, but the whole idea of the little girls doing the séance type thing, and that opens them up to Lamashtu, it again made me think of when I was a kid, and I had this friend down the street, and I would go and hang out with her, and her mom was super religious, and her mom used to always say, don't watch horror movies because that opens you up to demons and the devil. And I always thought that was so silly.
Yeah.
I was like, it's just a movie.
Right.
But, like, this movie, believing in this movie and understanding it, has you believe in that kind of a thing. Like, certain things can open you up. I don't believe it's, still.
Right.
Some people do, as we've talked about.
Yes, we have.
But I don't I don't believe it myself unless I ever saw it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I will say, there was a part, this is funny, when I was watching the movie the first time, the part where Angela's talking to her dad after they find the two girls, and there's like the quick, like the camera goes to the angle of her dad, and there's like kind of a demon standing behind him.
Yes. Yep.
That exact moment, Ziggy jumped up onto the coffee table. So I kind of knew to expect it, but at the same time, his timing was so perfect.
Oh my god!
And that's Ziggy the horror cat, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. Ziggy's been opened up to some demons through your horror movie watching, so
he did a good job.
I will say that scene or that moment, I dropped an F-bomb. I did, which I know I wasn't. I didn't. Well, we're gonna talk about something soon that I'll bring this back up. So,
what about the snake? Did the snake make you drop an F-bomb?
No, I actually thought there'd be something there. Not necessarily a snake, but I was like, something's gonna be in there. Whether it's like I thought it was gonna be like a skull or something weird like that. But
that part scared the hell out of me. Because
yeah.
First of all, there's a snake there, and then the concrete block that he's on like drops, and he goes into the water, and I was like, oh my god, he's in the water with the snake. Get out!
I will say snakes are gross to me anyway, a lot of times, but when then you see the snake kind of shuffle along on the water, I was like, ugh. Yep.
Yeah.
No.
It did take me 3 viewings of this movie to make the connection that when they find the girls on the farm, or when the farm hands or whatever, farmers.
Right. Right.
That's what they're called. They're called farmers, Andrew.
Yep. That's the one.
Before the one guy finds the girls in the barn, he's talking about how the one horse that's laying on the ground came down with a flu or a sickness.
Right. Yes. Yep. Yep.
It took me 3 viewings of this movie to realize, oh, the demon probably like made the horse sick.
Right. Yeah. Hey, good for you, man.
Also, I made the connection after a few viewings, knowing that the demon in this movie is Lamashtu. The part where Angela is standing at the hospital window and she's seeing the parents with their new baby and everything, and the baby's crying.
Yes.
And she slams her hand on the window, and the baby stops crying.
Oh, yeah.
Lamashtu.
Frickin' Lamashtu.
Now, when Angela is at home in the morning, and the whole scene where her dad wakes her up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is where I want to talk about test screenings.
Oh, yeah, right.
I know it's taken us a while to get here, but
we made it. We got there.
Thanks, buddy. Anyway, so we know what happens in the scene. He goes in, he tells her that she's peed in her bed overnight.
Yep.
And then he takes her to the bathroom, but then when he goes back to the bathroom, she's not there, and there's like this dirty brown water coming out and her toenails and stuff.
Yeah.
Originally, they had he would look up at the wall and see that she wrote the name Mother in her poop. But he said that it crossed a line with test audiences into comedic comedy. Like people laughed because it's poop. Poop.
Oh my gosh.
You know? And that's where, man, I am so torn about test screenings because, not to go off on too far of a tangent, but I went to a test screening once. It was Leatherface, the prequel to Leatherface movies. And I got to stay behind and talk to the people and answer questions about the movie. And everybody talked about their concerns and stuff about the movie. And I remember a lot of the things we said in this focus group thing. And when I saw the finished product of the movie, they hadn't changed a single damn thing. Not that I could tell.
Right.
Every concern we talked about was still in the movie. So it makes me wonder, like, do test screenings like mess up movies sometimes? Because first of all, I think that would have been disturbing.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think that's funny. I wouldn't sit there and chuckle. I would be more disturbed or grossed out.
If the word mother is written there.
Yeah.
You know? That would have disturbed me.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know who would laugh, but yeah.
Also, you have this idea that this movie was not received well when it released. Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you have test screenings, why weren't these concerns voiced during the test screenings? Or were they and ignored?
Good point.
Who knows? Like, I don't understand test screenings, my friend, is what I'm saying.
Either. I don't either.
I usually stay away from them a lot of times because they might have special effects that are unfinished, and I don't want to see that. I want to be immersed in a movie with finished special effects and stuff like that.
Yep. I did that. I went to one where the special effects weren't done. It was interesting.
Do you remember what it was?
The Final Destination.
Oh. The Final Destination.
Yeah, whatever the last one was.
4, isn't it?
Or maybe not. Maybe it's not called The Final. It was whatever the last one was. 6, 7.
Final Destination 5.
Is that what it's called? I don't know.
Maybe.
Whatever that one was. I thought it was called The Final. I don't remember.
Quick aside, I haven't seen them all, and quit hitting your microphone.
I know, that's twice now. It's because I got glasses on. I'm not used to it.
You're so excited.
I know.
Anyway, but yeah, so it just, like, don't they see this coming? If so many people are talking so poorly about this movie, just like they did after Halloween Ends.
Right.
What were test screenings like? I want to know what test screenings were like, what the notes were like at the end of these test screenings, these focus groups.
Right. That'd be interesting to see if they... Yeah, that would be really interesting to see what was changed and what wasn't.
Because personally, you know, I'm glad the movie came out the way it is because, obviously, I'm a fan of both.
Right. Right.
But weren't they, like Halloween Ends, weren't they prepared that people were like, who is Corey?
Right. Yeah.
What is this Corey Cunningham character?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Again, I liked him. I liked the movie. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
But this movie, you know, what kind of notes came back? Anyway, I'm not going to go on and on.
I get you, man. I get you.
And I just hit my phone on the microphone. So
you hypocrite.
I'm a big hypocrite. Okay, funny part. When Chris McNeil goes up to Catherine's bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious, right?
Hilarious, right. Almost as funny as writing mother with poop, but yeah, pretty funny.
So the first thing Catherine says to Chris, as Lamash to, she says, "Are you looking for Reagan?"
Oh, right.
Did it strike you at all that she sounded just like Pennywise in the new?
Oh, no, it didn't.
Especially even the way her mouth is. She's like, "Are you looking for Reagan?" And I was like, Pennywise? It actually took me a moment. I was like, that sounds so familiar to me. And then I was like, oh my God. She sounds like she says it a couple more times and it's different.
Right.
The first time she says it, it almost sounds like she's doing an impression of Bill Skarsgård doing Pennywise.
That's awesome. I did not catch that, but that's amazing.
Not so funny.
Okay.
Going back to the thing I like about this movie, the idea of all these people coming together.
Right.
I think it's Anne that says it. I like when she says the line, yes. She's talking about church.
Right.
And she's saying how church isn't just for, you know, to worship God, but it's for people, you know.
Right. Yeah.
That's what makes it strong. And I like that she says, yes, they're all there to affirm their faith in God, but they're also there to affirm their faith in each other.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I like that a lot. And that's
I do too.
I've always felt about church. I'm not a church-going guy.
Right, right.
But the one thing I do appreciate about church is the people that are there in service of each other and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, man. Yeah.
Except when those people then become religious zealot idiots.
Yeah. Yep. There's a line.
Which you're not. You're not, my friend.
I'm not. No. Love,
That's why
brother.
we have this we're able to have this podcast.
I know. I love it.
The other notes I have are like little behind the scenes things. So one thing I appreciated during the commentary, they posed the question, if you take the supernatural out of a movie, is it still a good movie? And that's one thing they were trying to achieve. Like if you took the supernatural out of this movie,
right,
would it still be a good movie? You know, if this was like all in their heads or something, you know, do you still have a good movie about people coming together, and I think that they do.
I agree. Yep. Yep.
Also, David Gordon Green, they were talking about how one fun thing that they do before they start shooting a movie, as they're writing the movie, they come together in these morning meetings and they watch movies together. And these movies are like inspiration for what they're trying to do.
Nice.
And one of the movies that David Gordon Green mentioned was Lorenzo's Oil. And he mentioned because of the heart of that movie, the heart that's at the middle of that movie. And I also didn't know that George Miller, who directed the Mad Max movies, directed Lorenzo's Oil.
Right on. Well, look at that.
Now, as much as I did like the commentary, the one thing I didn't care for is when they got to the church scene, the big church scene that I talked about.
Yeah.
They were just talking about their experiences going to church as kids. They did not even talk about what she was doing in the pew next to her brother and sister. You know, I mean, I'm sure she was, diddling herself.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted them to talk about it and talk about, did they take it far enough? What was the reaction to that? Blah, blah, blah. I wanted them to talk about it, but they're just like, yeah, when I was in church, we wrote this on our pamphlets. I'm like, dude, come on, guys. Last thing, behind the scenes, did you know when they're at Chris McNeil's house on the beach, there's a shot of her standing at a window and you see a lot of her living room and you see the arm of a couch. That couch is the same couch that Chris McNeil had in The Exorcist.
No way. That's dope. That's awesome. I love that. Wow.
What'd you think of the music, buddy? What'd you think of the music?
So I'm excited to talk about this. So there's, at least what I felt was there wasn't much music, so jumping back to one thing that we kind of discussed was there was a couple moments in this movie that I genuinely jumped. And I think part of it was there was lack of music, especially towards the beginning. There was like not much that I heard. So I was caught off guard because usually, or not always, but like in a lot of horror movies, you get kind of that buildup of music. Oh, jump scare. Buildup of music. Oh, jump scare. You're prepping for it. Oh, something's coming. This one, I felt like there was a couple where I just went, oh gosh, I had zero. I wasn't ready for them.
Yeah.
And I think it was lack of music. But once the music does come in, I liked what I heard, and I do love that we got at least sampling of Tubular Bells.
I would say a reorchestration.
There we go. That's a better way to say that. Much better. Which even as we were watching, it doesn't start with the Tubular Bells. It starts with something else, and I turn to Cindy and I go, I hope we get at least something similar to Tubular Bells. And then all of a sudden we get the tune, and I go, yes.
Was it the part where they're talking about Chris McNeil?
Yes.
When she's calling Chris McNeil, there's like hints of Tubular Bells. They're starting to bring it in.
Yes. Yep.
And then when he's driving, then they bring it fully in.
That's exactly when it was. That is exactly so. Yeah.
And then I believe
it was good.
I believe they don't bring it back until the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah. So. Yep. They do not. I know. I was surprised by that. Not during the movie until after, though, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. But I'm okay with it.
The composers were David Wingo and Amman Abbasi.
Okay, right on.
So I don't know them very well. As a fan of soundtracks, I don't know them, but I do like this soundtrack. In fact, it's easier to listen to the soundtrack to this movie than the soundtrack to The Exorcist.
Oh, right on, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because The Exorcist is purely a couple of tracks of Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield, and then all these weird compositions. This one is actually, when Tubular Bells comes in, it's not a sample. It's them, orchestrating and performing it, which is amazing. It's good.
Yep. I agree. Yeah.
And I really did like the music near the end of The Exorcism. There's the music does get pretty dramatic, and I like that a lot.
Yep, I agree. Which, again, kind of speaks for the movie. Like, it just, or it's maybe not, but I like that it was quiet at the beginning until things start happening, and it's you're part of this, and you can feel it, and you can hear it, and it's cool, man. I'm all about it.
I think they commented in the commentary. Get it? Commented in the commentary, yeah.
I like it.
I think they commented that the first real music score moment is when they're searching for the girls in the forest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But also, if you watch the movie, just go to the end credits and play the end credits. It starts with Tubular Bells, but then basically David Gordon Green says that the musicians that were performing the music just had like this weird jam session. It's kind of demo-like music, and it's like just this. It's kind of scary music, but it's great.
That's awesome.
It's just like them playing freeform scary jazz. It's weird, but
cool.
I like the fact that it was just them noodling on their instruments and stuff.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so cool. Man.
Buddy, I think that's it. Are you you ready to give me 3 questions?
I'm ready to give you 3 questions, yes.
Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3.
All right, here we go. My friend, what was the best kill/death in Exorcist Believer?
That's a tough one, man, because there's 3. And 2 of them are absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I could go with the easy one and say Father Maddox.
All right.
It's a throwback to the first movie. But if I gotta say Catherine. It's not my favorite. I didn't want her to die.
Right.
But it is absolutely the most effective death in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And especially the fact that every single time I watch the movie, the death and then the subsequent moments of her being dragged under the water, supposedly to hell, just terrifies me. So
totally
I'm gonna go with that.
I like it. I'm the easy route. I'm going Father Maddox. And really, honestly, it's because I just love that, like your friend said, it's like that Avengers entrance. It's this whole thing, and then just gone right there. I was like, whoa, wow, they totally just went against what the original did. You know, it was like this, oh, got him. So it just caught me off guard, and I was like, yeah, I'm all right with that. Like, that was a good, they got me.
And just to be clear, it wasn't my friend. It was just a random stranger.
Oh, sorry. Well, good job, random stranger.
You should be sorry.
I am sorry. On that note, was this, what'd you think? Was this movie scary?
That's an interesting question, Andrew.
It is.
Because let me tell you, the first time I saw this movie, I saw it in the theaters. One theater. And I didn't feel like it was scary. I thought it was good. I enjoyed my time with the movie. I thought it was way better than people were giving it credit for.
Right.
But then that night, I was in my bed, and I had turned off the lights except for my bedroom light. And suddenly I was a little bit creeped out. And it hit me. I was like, wow, that movie wasn't really scary, but it kind of unsettled me.
Yeah.
And that was a good thing. And I still, like, watching it the past couple weeks, it still didn't stay with me after the movie. But I do think if you are invested in this movie, if you're absorbed into this movie, I think there are things that are scary about this movie. Actually somewhat terrifying.
Nice.
What about you, my friend? Did you find The Exorcist Believer scary?
So I didn't lose sleep, but I definitely do think that this movie is scary. I think there's definitely some things that are horrifying and make you think and do create really good conversations about some creepy stuff. So I think it is scary. I do. And I could see people watching this being very scared at this movie. So yeah, I would say yeah.
If they're not the people that think this movie is horribly stupid.
Right, yes. And I mean, I already know the answer to this, but the people want to hear it anyway. Did you have fun with horror?
Andrew, I did.
Nice.
I don't know that this is a fun movie.
Right.
But I'm a huge David Gordon Green fan by now. I'd love to see him direct a movie that is not a sequel to a classic.
That's a good point, man.
I'd like to see what he does with an original script because I think he's an amazing director. I think his vision is absolutely beautiful. I love his casting. I love his human, authentic moments in all of his movies. I love David Gordon Green.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
What about you? Did you have fun with horror?
I did. Well, I mean, like you said, it's not a fun movie, but I thought it was a great movie. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I had fun with horror.
Would you say that you're a believer?
I would say I'm a believer.
I may not have witnessed the exorcism, but I sure as all hell witnessed the possession. I spent the next 10 years trying to understand what I saw with my own eyes. I studied every culture, every religion, every ritual for it I could find. I just learned so much about all this stuff. I wanted people to understand that it's possible to survive the most traumatic experiences, and not only survive, but thrive.
Andrew.
Yeah, buddy.
It's your choice. It's your pick.
It's mine.
So,
Yay.
Andrew, what are we watching for episode number 115?
Well, there's lots of things, and I think I'm going to surprise you a little.
Uh-oh.
Well, no. I hope it's good.
God.
Oh, jeez.
No. What
and
are
that's
we watching?
We're going to rewatch Dr. Giggles yes. as a retrospect. No. No, we are not. No, I'm going to one that I've wanted to see for a while.
Okay.
But isn't necessarily new.
Okay.
I mean, it's newer. But seeing the wonderful and amazing and talented Dowd made me think of Hereditary, which, as you know, I loved.
We've already seen that one, though.
You're right. But I haven't ever seen Midsommar.
Oh, boy.
And I would like to watch that.
It's time for Midsommar.
I think it's time for Midsommar. I don't know. I as you know, I have wonderful feelings towards Hereditary. So I'm very anxious for this one.
I'm going to tell you this right now, buddy.
Okay.
Because I don't like spoilers.
Oh, yes, yeah.
But just going into this, don't expect this to be a scary movie.
Okay.
Unsettling, yes.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to tell you. Because a lot of people go into this movie going, oh, it's a horror movie. It's by the director of Hereditary. And then they're like, that wasn't a scary horror movie.
But I like unsettling. Because even Hereditary, I mean, there's scary in Hereditary, but it was the unsettling moments that I was like, well, this movie's great. So I'm excited.
This is great. This is great because I've been holding off watching it. So, yeah.
Yay. Well, just so anyone that's out there that does want to watch it, of course, before the podcast, it's on it's on Max and Showtime right now to stream, or of course you can buy or rent pretty much anywhere. So, that's that.
When I say I've been holding off watching it, I've seen it one time.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I thought it was more than that.
No, just once. But I've been holding off watching it a second time because you haven't seen it. I knew at some point we would pick it.
Nice.
So,
yay.
All right.
I'm excited, man. Midsommar.
Well, everybody, thank you for bearing with us through The Exorcist Believer. Hopefully at some point we'll be back to talk about The Exorcist Deceiver.
Right.
You know what? That's up to Blumhouse. I hope they get a director.
Me too. Or you know what? David Gordon Green, just do it. Just do it.
Just do it, David Gordon Green, DGG.
Just do it.
Funny, you did mention Dr. Giggles retrospective. I never ever thought about us doing a retrospective.
I have. I've always been curious if we went back to one of our first episodes, or our first episode, and do, I don't know, someday.
All I got to say is, in a couple months we may be doing a Serbian film again. So it'll be nice to revisit that one.
It will be nice to revisit that one.
But just stay tuned, everybody. That's all we're saying. But until then, thank you, everybody, for listening to Fun with Horror.
Thank you.
We really appreciate all of you. We appreciate all of our fans, all of our listeners. If you're out there listening and you hate us, we appreciate you too. We love you.
Yep, we do. And buddy, I love you.
I love you.
Thank you.
The body and the blood.
The body and the blood.